Hello there, this is the Polyglot Programmer, and today we're going to learn about particle systems in Godot. And to do that, we're going to create a very cool and simple frying effect that would happen when you fry a hamburger on a frying pan, for example. Right? And so let's get started, right? So this is a frying pan, and I already have this effect here on my game. As you can see here, it's happening right here, and when we play the game, it happens when you put a hamburger on the frying pan. We're gonna try to recreate this guy right here. I actually have already a demo here. I'm gonna delete this guy and I'm gonna create it from scratch, right? So to do that on Godot, to make use of composition, right? I don't want to create it right inside of here. I usually like to create things like that in a scene of itself, and then I just add it in here, just like I have this guy here, which is created on another scene. So let's do that right now. So let's create a new scene, create a 3D scene, and let's just go ahead and save it. I'm gonna save this guy right? So let's go frying effect tutorial. Great. So I have this guy. Awesome. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to create an emitter, right? So a particle effect, it's pretty much made out of two parts. It's the particle and the emitter, right? A particle, it's something that it gets spawned at a fixed or variable time interval, and also has a fixed or variable lifetime. And during that lifetime, the particle can behave in different ways depending on the variables that you define, right? And the emitter is what makes the particle spawn, right? And in terms of Godot, you have two different emitters. You have the CPU emitter, which is, as you can imagine, handled by the CPU, and it's a lot more limited than the GPU. And you have the GPU emitter, which it gives you a lot more flexibility. And it's a lot more performant. One of the advantages of the CPU emitter is that it is compatible with it supports a lot more devices. So for example, if you're building a game for old mobile phones, you probably want to go with the CPU emitter instead of the GPU. But in our case, let's go with the GPU, right? Okay, so here we have our GPU, and there are a couple of properties here on the inspector that they're important to you. One of them is the time, which it defines, like I said, the lifetime of the property of the particle, of each particle, the randomness that you will have over here. There are a couple of other variables here, but the most important ones are the lifetime, which let's set it to 5.5 now, and the randomness, let's bump that up to 1. And another important property here that you have is the amount. So how many particles do you want to be spawned at any given time, right? So as you can see here, it says number of particles to emit. How many particles do you want to be emitting at any given time? Since we're talking about a frying effect, 8 is not a lot, so let's give it 25. And of course here you have an emitting, which is this emitting all the time, right? And you can set this to true or false depending on your game rules also. And it's also a one shot. So is this going to be emitted and then done, or is this going to be looping? So one shot, if it's off, it's going to be looping all the time. And if it's on, it's not going to be looping, right? The other important properties that you have here, the most important that we're going to cover today, are the process material, right? And the process material is it's a special kind of material that you don't actually use it outside of a particle system, right? So it's in fact called a particle process material, or you can use a shader material if you're using a GPU particle. Using the CPU, you cannot use a shader, unfortunately. The shader runs on the GPU. Right? In our case, we are going to use a particle process material, and we're going to configure that in a moment. The other important property that we have here is the draw passes, right? So the draw passes, you need at least one draw pass. Basically, the draw pass is what are you going to render? What are each particle going to look like? You can have a mesh that you can create outside of somewhere else, or you can use one of the primitive forms that we have here, and that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna use a quad. So you're gonna create here, this kind of looks like a mesh instance, right? Thing. So you're just gonna choose a quad. Great, awesome. And you can have up to 4 draw passes, which enables you to create to compose very complex effects, right? So if you have particles that kind of look different from one another, you can use that. In our case, we're just gonna create a very simple effect here of a frying effect for a low poly game, right? Great. So next, so first let's configure the draw passes, because this is simpler. You have less properties here. You don't need to worry about much here. One thing that we do need to worry is the size. I mean, you have a 1 meter particle when you're frying something, it's gigantic. So let's just set this to, I don't know, maybe 2, right? Even this may be too big, but we're gonna deal with that. And the other thing that you need to deal with this is that you need to set a material, which again, it can be a shader or it can be a standard material. In our case, let's just set a standard material. And since we're dealing with a frying effect here, we do need to set a couple of properties. So transparency, we're gonna set alpha. Blend mode, we're gonna set to add, so it doesn't gives you this. What else? Vertex color, yeah, we do need to set this to on. You can add a emission here if you want, right? This can look quite cool, right? What else? Billboard, you do need to set a billboard to particles billboard. And shadows, let's just disable receive shadow. Right, I think that's all that we need to set here. Since I already have this created, I don't want to leave you guys hanging in here. Let me just check if what else did I change here. I had an emission, metallic, we don't need to worry about that. Vertex, and shadow. Yeah, that's all we need to worry about it now for now. Great. So if we come back here, we do have this weird looking thing here. So now we're gonna configure our particles process material, and this is where we're gonna basically set how your particles emitter is gonna behave, right? So first thing, let's set a time randomness here to 0.3. Let's see, emission shape. So this is important. So the emitter on a particle system, it does not have a visual. You won't see the emitter on the world, but it does have a shape. So for example, if you take my particle system here that I already have, you can see that the shape is a sphere and it has a radius. So this is basically where are the particles going to spawn from in terms of area, right? So I have a sphere and I have a 0.3. If I increase these, you can see that the particles are all over the place. So for example, if you have dust in a room, something, you can have this really big, or you can have this, they're all coming from one single point, right? So in our case, let's leave it at 0.3. And to do our own system here, let's do the same sphere and let's set it to 0.3. So now you can see that they're kind of contained within this here. If we want to make this a bit bigger, we can. Great. Next thing that we need to do is direction, right? So we're dealing with sizzling effect. So it's basically, we have a frying pan here, and you can see that the particles are kind of moving up, right? So to do that, we're gonna set X to 0 and we're gonna set Y to 1. So now the particles are going in the upwards direction, right? But they're still going up, and that's because of the gravity, right? So gravity is set to minus 9.8, which is the gravity in the world or whatever. And now but the particles at this point, they don't have any speed, right? So we're gonna set its minimum speed to 1. You can see that they're going up now. And to set a little bit of randomness, you can set to 5, for example, maybe 3. Yeah, 3 is good. Yeah, and same for angular velocity. So the trick for a good particle systems is always to add a little bit of randomness to the behavior, right? Damping, I don't think we need to worry about this. Angle, yeah, maybe. This is the angle that the minus minimum 0 and minus 360. So you can see that the particles are being spawned in different angles and rotations. Scale, we can leave all of them kind of on the same size. Color, let's leave it at white, or you can have some sort of color ramp here if you want, depending on what you're doing for fire. Turbulence is really cool. So if we enable this, you can see that they're like going all over the place, kind of like a turbulence in an airplane, right? But we can set this, we can decrease this, just it's not completely all over the place, right? And okay, so now that we have this, let's try adding our particle system here, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's looking good. I mean, I would say it's a bit big, right, for an effect, for frying effect. So let's adjust the size here, maybe 0.2. Yeah. Okay, this is great. This is looking good actually. See? Okay, this is okay. It's, let's see, maybe maybe let's see here, angular velocity, it's a bit fast. Okay, now they're kind of more, they're tamed. Scale, gravity, but that's it. Our particle system is pretty much done. Now we can keep tweaking these variables here forever until we find something that is perfect to what we need. So this is what we just created. If I disable this and enable the one that I had before, the fire, this, you can see the mine is a bit more contained. I spent some time tweaking this to what I wanted, and this is all it is. A particle system on Godot. It's actually not that simple to start. Every time that I play with a particle system, it blows my mind, because it's one of those things that it's really easy to get started, but the possibilities are absolutely endless. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.